Now, before you click off this video, probably wondering who's this handsome, smart, educated, and friendly young man on my screen. That's Philip. He's working. Leave him alone. I've casted him to the shadows for a reason. Anyway, this video. Will you go somewhere? All right, guys. Update. So I fired Philip. He was dragging the team down, so I had to get rid of him. But anyway, back to what I'm here to do. So I don't really know who this is for. This is for me. I like to do stuff like this. I'm going to talk about something I did recently, which is switched my computer to Linux, baby. Yeah, I'm original. If you're like me and you use computers for a long time, or you have, and you like to use a little operating system called Windows, because I've used that forever. If you like to do that sort of thing, I know that you have experienced what I experienced lately, which is the Windows bloat. Back in my day, back when I was a youngin', and we had stuff like Windows Vista, for anyone who knows what that is. Like even up to, when Windows 8 came out, Windows 10, 11, they started to add all this bloat, which is the excess programs, such as the types of stuff. There's extra programs that you don't need. It installs apps for you that you don't want. It installs games for you that you don't want right off the bat. And it ends up slowing your computer down, especially the first time you install Windows and launch it. If you recall, which you probably don't, but the first time you launched a computer, if you built it yourself and had to install Windows, it took forever. That's because it was doing all of its first launch up stuff, installing all of that excess software and bloat that now turns on every time you turn your computer on. And if you're a savvy computer user, like most of you probably are, it's what year is it? I'm sure you go into the services in your Windows Task Manager and you boop, disable certain things from starting up that you don't want. And maybe one day you'll go and even uninstall those things because you'll need to make space for Call of Duty Warzone. However, Office is falling apart. However, if you're like me and you didn't like that and you're getting tired of not only having to deal with stuff like bloat, but the constant Windows updates, security issues, security updates, updates that break stuff, updates that fix stuff, updates that break stuff, but the Windows repair tool fix stuff. If you're tired of all of that, you're probably like me, and you just want your computer to work like the good old days. Linux has made strides. It's strides. Linux has made strides in the last year, and you too can enjoy Linux and a computer experience that's just like the good old days, just like when I was a wee lad. If more people are using stuff like Linux, there's a lot more development that'll happen just because there's going to be more of a need across the board. And what I mean by that is because more people have switched to stuff like Linux, and there's been stuff like Valve's Steam Proton that's come out with for the Steam Deck to make games run on there. There's been more incentive for people to switch to Linux and develop stuff on Linux. And what's amazing with the Linux platform versus stuff like other ones mentioned is on Linux, almost everything is free. You can get something that would be Ubuntu. I never know how to say that right. Ubuntu based. I use Fedora is the OS I'm currently on for Linux, and I'm loving it. I've had no issues so far. The big push is because if we get more people gaming on Linux, doing stuff on Linux, of course, working on Linux, not only do I think we could build a more secure kind of internet space, and I mean that by gaming spaces, chatting platforms, online web services and spaces, because when you're using Linux, it's a lot harder to get stuff like viruses. Not saying it's impossible, but what I'm meaning is it is just a nicer platform to be on, at least from my naive but personal experience, versus Windows. I've felt more secure across the board. And also, I just really have liked having the complete control of my entire operating system. Windows, which is a benefit if you're someone who just needs like a laptop on the fly, or maybe Windows does work, but it does a lot of stuff for you in the background, and it locks down a lot of how your operating system works. I like for Fedora, and I know across the board with other Linux systems, especially mattering on the distro you choose, you might come with more services already built in just because that's something you chose to get, you actually control all of the services in the system. You control your drivers, you control how the system look, you can control how the system operates. For me, I'm someone who has 2 setups. I use my current computer in my office space here, and then I actually have my computer running to my living room TV, which then allows me to work out there or game out there. And I like that Linux just has no issue in between switching like monitors or anything visual. Just some very small issues, but were just very frustrating with Windows. That was just nothing I could do about it for my specific situation. Switching to Linux allowed me to change those things and make it just work. For my experience with gaming, for a lot of people out there who are looking at this saying, well, hey, I primarily use my PC for gaming. Everything works with Windows. Why would I just stick with Windows? I do get that. Let me tell you, though, there has been some changes to Linux that really have allowed just borderline every game to be playable from my personal experience. The Steam Proton and the I only know it from what I downloaded as, which is the Qt Proton, that allows the Steam games to, I guess, work with the best compatibility. But my experience has been just across the board, everything running either better or just as good as it ran on Windows. My only experience that has been an issue is if you are someone, which I know this is going to speak for most of you out there, if you play Fortnite, Call of Duty Warzone, or Battlefield 6 that just came out, those games just don't work right now because they have some form of anti-cheat that is required from a platform, for a platform like Windows. So we can't play. Which, listen, you're not stranded. You could dual boot. I'm still trying to figure out how to do that myself correctly. I have not done it very well from my experience. A new setup, like you're just building a brand new PC. It's probably easier to do so. You could just get an extra hard drive, make it your Windows drive, slot that bad boy in there, use Grub to dual boot. There you go. Next thing you know, you have Windows. If you do that option, there's just certain things you have to make sure you do with your startup sequence, but I'm sure you'll figure that out if you're savvy enough to do Linux and dual boot. That you're not entirely stranded. You can still do Linux for everything else, and then just switch to Windows when it's time to game with your buddies on those games. And that's an easy resolution, I think, across the board, where you don't have to quite give up Windows, especially if you let's say you bought it full price recently, and you're like, well, hey, now I own this thing. I'm not going to get rid of it. I get it. Hey, I get it. Not upset. Chill. Relax. Calm down. Let's talk. However, here's the good news. If there are more people using Linux for their gaming needs, there will be, of course, the temporary restriction of, well, hey, I'm on Linux now, I can't play those games, probably going to play them less. That's okay. There's a plethora of amazing games out there that you and your friends can either play together or you can play by yourself. It's okay to play games by yourself sometimes. But there is a plethora of amazing games on Steam that you can play, and hell, even off Steam, you can still play games that aren't from the Steam marketplace. Try something else. Get out there, mingle. All right, that's what I'm saying. Get out there. Anyways, what I'm saying is, if you switch to Linux and you're restricted, so you're not playing those games, those companies are going to have a reason to allow Linux users to play on Linux-based servers or something. I don't know, but it builds a demand. And once there's a demand, we get a response. So it's worth it, in my opinion, if you want to switch and actually end up getting more people playing those games with you down the line. If you jump for now, you'll actually build an incentive for them to allow everyone to play. Kind of like they did with the video game console BS back when I was a wee lad. Now, most games you could just cross-play. We could do that too with Linux. It's completely possible. We just need more people on Linux gaming, and it's growing constantly. If you go online, the subreddits, there's people talking about it all the time. People talking about, how do I get this certain game to work, figuring it out, making them work better, building patches for their systems to make games run. It's incredibly impressive. ProtonDB is an excellent website resource to see what games do run. So if there's maybe a specific one that you're really nervous about that's not the ones I listed, and you want to see if that's something you could still play, there's a good chance you could. If you go on that website, you can just type in any game. It'll let you know the status of it. And if you go in and you're having issues, most of the time someone with a similar system set up to you left a comment on the commands and what they did, and the game will just run again. It's not really that complicated. It just takes maybe a little bit of thinking. However, that's not even that common anymore. When I switched to Linux about a year ago, that was still kind of common to need to do those things. These days, most new releases just seem to work with the Steam Proton. I don't know if it's a new compatibility thing that just more developers are pushing for or what, but across the board, I've not really had any issues. Lately, I've been playing Persona 3 Reload, I should say, that new one. No issues at all. I just been playing Splitgate Arena that came out back in May, and that's a competitive shooter to give you an idea, so it is possible. And I didn't deal with any cheaters when I played. So anyways, I know this is a little bit of a weird video because, like I said at the beginning, you don't know who I am, or who Philip was. But you don't know who I am, and I'm just some random guy making a video talking about Linux. I know I'm not really going into any technical specifics. I probably sound very naive compared to a lot of other people on this platform. I just wanted to talk about the politics of it, and how if we really kind of band together for more people to use Linux, not only will you be taking back your privacy because you're going to get a more secure platform that you get to control. You're not going to feel as monetized for a system that you're just trying to use every day, especially if you are a very frequent PC user. It can be kind of fun as well to set up your system. Even if you're not someone who's super tech savvy, you can actually get really into it just building a system. On the OS side, once you've built your physical computer, maybe you're building your first one, it can be kind of fun to sit down and install one of these distros because they'll still do the heavy work for you. You can get a system like Fedora, like I have, that basically makes it look similar to Windows. It's just right off the bat, you're removing all the excess below, and it makes your life a hell of a lot easier. If you're someone who has recently switched to Linux, please feel free to share in the comments your experience and what your thoughts are so far. What distro did you choose, and how long have you been on it? And if there's any specific type of games you like to play, or maybe you found a workaround for a certain game that you think someone else might, need a mention on there, feel free to toss it on. If you are thinking about switching to Linux, but you're hesitant, share why, or maybe share what you're going to switch to. Or if maybe you're a distro hopper and you want to talk a little bit about that, go ham. I just kind of want to start a little bit of discussion about it. If you have like a favorite distro, toss it out there. And let's just be chill and kind and support each other with Linux. I think this is a really cool platform that it's been around a long time, I know, but it's really kind of getting its legs. And I think it'd be cool if there's some interest out there to progress further. Maybe I'll make a little video about my current setup, my setup to my living room. That's pretty intense. I know my office is huge, so you must be wondering how long that cable's got to be. Oh, it's long. It's pretty cool what Linux can do. So I'm hoping down the line, maybe we can explore it a little bit more together. There's tons of programs and platforms I'm learning about every day. The programs I like to use day to day, and the ones that I know that are out there that someone else might like. I feel like getting really into the techs of it right this moment, just because I'm curious. I'm dipping my toes in the pool out here of who's thinking about Linux and thinking about doing their thing with it. So, but please, if you're interested, definitely click that big red subscribe button. I don't know, maybe I'll do something else. Maybe I'll rehire Philip. We're kind of short-staffed now. Well, I didn't really tell him he was fired. I kind of just walked him out. But thank you for watching and listening to me rant to you, and maybe I'll see you soon. I don't know if you could hear any of that, but hopefully I'll see you soon. Bye.